Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Miro, and I'm the Vice President of the League of Women Voters of Washtenaw County. I welcome you to this afternoon's online forum featuring candidates for the Michigan House of Representatives, District 48. The candidates will be on the ballot of the 2022 general election on Tuesday, November 8th. The League is a nonpartisan civic and political organization that encourages informed and active participation of all citizens in government. The League does not support candidates or parties. However, we do take stands on issues we have studied. One of the League's most important goals is to assist voters in making informed choices at the polls. Therefore, we bring you this program. Our moderator this afternoon is Shirley Jackson from the Livingston County chapter, who will explain the format and get us started. Shirley?
Thank you, Catherine. So I want to, first of all, introduce the two candidates that we have with us today. And it's my honor to introduce Eric Beauregard and Jennifer Conlon, who are running for Michigan Legislature's 48th district. And it's important to note that while all three candidates were invited to this forum, candidate Jason Wolford declined to participate. So thank you, Mr. Beauregard and Ms. Conlon, for your time and interest to inform voters about your answers to their questions. The forum today will have the following format. Each of you will have an opening statement. We'll give an opening statement that will, you're given up to a minute in which to respond. And then you'll have, at the very end, you'll have a closing statement of up to 90 seconds, minute and a half. And in between, I will be asking questions which came from the Livingston County community. And each of you will have 90 seconds to respond to each question. So to kind of sum that up, an opening statement of 1 minute, answer questions for 90 seconds, closing statement for 90 seconds, okay? The timer will indicate the amount of time remaining and then a stop screen. So candidates, please stop when indicated so that each of you will have an equal opportunity in which to participate. The order of who speaks first and second and so on will be alphabetical, and the initial responder will be rotated so that each candidate will have the opportunity to be the first to answer a question. So number one gets the opening statement and also the first closing statement. And the rationale behind this is that the first person should not be able to make the first impression and the last impression. To support both candidate response and the viewing audience once the forum is posted, the questions will be read by the moderator, that's me, and posted concurrently with the chat function. The chat function will not permit comments from either the candidates or LWV, League of Women Voters Volunteers, or the public. So we're ready for your opening statement, Eric Beauregard.
Hi, my name is Eric Beauregard, and I'm the Green Party candidate for state representative in the 48th district. So why should you vote for a Green Party candidate? Well, maybe you should vote for us because of the things we love, things like social justice, peace, and the natural beauty of this planet. A planet that two corporate parties fight to squeeze every last bit of oil out of. The fossil fuel economy that's going nowhere, that has set the doomsday clock ticking on climate change. A military-industrial complex that has put the whole world on a hair trigger. But are we working to calm things down, to de-escalate the situation? No, it's more war, more fighting, more gas shortages, more inflation. 3.8 million tenants are facing eviction, another mortgage meltdown and recession looming. Our streets are saturated with guns, all locked and loaded and waiting for a GOP civil war or a Democratic Party World War III. You know, we have become what we vote for, e pluribus unum. Be a lover this year, not a hater. Vote for the Green Party's New Deal and elect peace. Thank you.
Okay, and now Jennifer Conlon, may we have your opening statement, please?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for putting this together, League of Women Voters. My name's Jennifer Conlon, and I am running in the 48th for state representative. I was born and raised here in Washtenaw County. I attended the University of Michigan, where I met my husband of 32 years, and then went on to what has been a 33 plus year career in journalism. I have worked all over the world, and 12 years ago returned to Michigan and started covering everything from education and healthcare to arts and culture and tourism and economic development in the state of Michigan. Shortly after covering the, unfortunately, the Oxford school shootings for the New York Times, I started thinking that I don't want to write about these issues anymore. I want to help fix them. And I learned I live in a district that's 50-50, 50% Republicans, 50% Democrats. And as a journalist, I think I'm the perfect person to run because I know how to hear different sides, different perspectives, amplify voices, and dig deep into issues. Thank you.
Thank you to both of you candidates. And now on to the questions. As a reminder, I will be reading the question once and it will not be repeated unless it is requested. So you may request if you want to. To begin with, we're going to start with Jennifer, and then we will go to Eric. And then for the second question, Eric, you will start and then Jen, okay? And it'll flip back and forth, okay? So Jennifer, you will start with question number 1. And it is, reports of gun violence and mass shootings have become frequent and disturbing occurrences. The Oxford High School incident brought this home to Michigan in a very tragic way. People want assurance of safety and talk about more restrictions on gun purchases and storage. Michigan also has a significant number of avid gun owners who support stronger regulations. What are your plans to address this hot topic, and what legislation would you support?
Am I starting? Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you very much for the question. As I just mentioned, I covered the Oxford school shootings for the New York Times, and I saw firsthand, I was one of the first reporters to get there, what gun violence does to a community. The entire community was devastated. And that's when I decided I really wanted to run for office. Currently, there are so many gun safety, common sense gun law regulations sitting in committees that we could pass if we had a Democratic majority in the House. And I support safe storage. I support universal background checks. I support red flag laws that would make sure that anyone accused of domestic abuse can't get a gun. There is so much that we can do to make our state and our country safer around guns. I don't want to take people's guns away, and I couldn't if I wanted to. They're protected by the Second Amendment, but we can do a lot to keep our children safer, to keep our communities safer. And so I would put my heart and soul behind that. And door knocking, I'm here to tell you, this district has so many hunters, and all of the hunters I speak to are responsible gun owners who believe in having these safe storage rules, who believe in these common sense gun safety regulations, and I would vote for anything that I could to do that once in the State House. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now, Eric, it is your turn to answer question number 1.
Well, first I would support a ban on assault rifles and other military type weapons that are available to the public. This is a particularly pitiful situation. I think guns don't kill people, people kill people. And so we should ban people from owning guns.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Is there anything more that really needs to be said about this horrible issue?
I just wanted to make sure that you knew that you had more time.
No guns. A society without guns.
Okay.
Let's dream, huh?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we are going to approach question number 2. And Eric, you're going to start off. And it is, Michigan is known as the Great Lakes State, and as such is a steward for protecting these critical waterways. What are your thoughts on safeguarding our water from pollution and toxic chemicals? And what legislation would you support?
As you know, the all-encompassing economic issue for the Green Party is the environment and building a sustainable economy and future. For the other parties, it's fighting for an economy of accelerated growth and increased consumerism. In their paradigm, the winning economy is the one that further decimates the planet, increases global warming. So I really don't have an answer for this question anymore, because we need to start leaving all the fossil fuels in the ground more than 20 years ago. That's why the Green Party proposed a Green New Deal crash program more than 12 years ago. And there was a chance of saving the planet. But I suppose now, if we act now, we may have some point of a reasonably survivable dystopian future. I mean, that's just the way things are now.
Okay, thank you very much. And now, Jennifer, would you like to answer question number 2, please?
Yes, I have been endorsed by both the Sierra Club and the Michigan League of Conservation Voters because I feel very strongly about keeping our waterways clean and having clean drinking water. This district has so many lakes in it, and the PFAS contamination and the algae blooms that have come from, polluters has really affected the region. You can't eat the fish that you catch. You worry about taking your boat out because these algae blooms are getting in the way of your, boating experiences. There's climate change is causing flooding issues on these lakes. So everybody I've talked to in the district is desperate to really care about this issue and have somebody elected who cares about this issue. And that's why I would support the polluters pay bill, which would make people who contaminate, the companies who contaminate, have to clean it up. Of course, everyone knows that last month, Tri-Bar had another toxic spill. The second, they had a PFAS spill that, caused this PFAS problem a few years ago. And why they're not being shut down is beyond anyone's imagination. So I think it is just so important that we address it. And I feel strongly also about decommissioning the pipeline, the Enbridge Line 5 pipeline, for the same reason. 1.5 million jobs in our state revolve around our Great Lakes and tourism, and we cannot afford to have anything go wrong there and have an oil spill. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Now we are going to start question number 3, and Jennifer, you are going to start with your answer, please. And the question is, how will you protect Michigan schools from the potentially disastrous effects of the national teacher shortage?
So one of the first things I would like to do if elected is have a teacher retention bill, because we do have a huge shortage of teachers. Part of that is student teachers aren't even paid. We need to pay student teachers, and there's no minimum salary for teachers coming in. They're paid different all over the state. So even though there might be a cost of living allowance that, there should be a minimum amount that you come in on so that you can afford to even be a teacher. Obviously, you need to earn less in a very rural district than you do in Detroit, but we need to have some standard. I've also been talking to teachers who would like more of a professional development mentorship program, so that when you are a teacher, as opposed to the principal watching you teach twice a year, every school would actually have a mentor in who would probably come every 2 weeks and watch you teach and help you become a better teacher. And we also just need to value our teachers more in general. We need to trust them to teach our students, and that includes teaching history and teaching and not banning books, and really value them and what they're doing, because teachers are the foundation of our education. And we need our children to be able to learn from these wonderful professionals, and we need to support them.
Okay, thank you. And Eric, it is now your turn to answer that same question, please.
Well, as a guest teacher in the public schools locally here, it is without question the flu pandemic has decimated our public schools. And while per pupil spending is at an all-time high, the quality of our public schools are kind of at an all-time low. Money is not what fixes school quality. People are what fix school quality. So the priority number one for Michigan should be finding more quality teachers. We have the money, so what the state should be doing is headhunting nationwide and worldwide. For example, teachers from China and South America would expose our students to the new centers for green technology and the energy resource, the languages that are spoken there. Teachers from Russia, Europe, Africa expose students to foreign challenges, that help reach our state's goal for diversity in the school. Unfortunately, what's been happening is instead of raising teachers' standards and practices during this teacher shortage, schools have been forced to dig deep and lower standards. So anybody with a high school diploma and a few hours of college, they can teach. Public schools are a microcosm of what happens to us later in life. And when our public schools fail us, society fails.
Okay, thank you. And Eric, you are going to be the first person to respond to the next question, question number 4. By the way, there's a total of 6 questions, okay? Just so that you know. So question number 4, please identify the top 3 concerns residents in your district have expressed to you and describe the steps you would take to address one of these concerns or issues if elected.
Well, when I was running for state senator a few years ago, one was the ET pipeline, gas pipeline, a giant pipeline. These are like bombs in the ground if they start to leak. I mean, you can go on the internet, you can see what happens after one of these pipelines goes off. And citizens were outraged about it. There were kids in camps living near this and so on. I think our state senator came and, did a little opt and, wrote a letter to the EPA or something, the thing is, we don't need the gas. We don't need any of the gas or any of the fossil fuels. We can't burn them anymore, okay? So why they're fighting and allowing this stuff to go on, and they said they're gonna cut off line 5. They're still pumping the fuel through there. They're still damaging the atmosphere. So EPA's kind of phony. Sarah Club, they're just a big fundraising, fun organization for the Democrats. Nobody's talking reality here. And so I think what people would want is something more real. When something goes on in their community, they want them to act, not the public relations and the phony answers, and then they just time it out. I'm kind of being timed out now.
Okay, thank you. And Jennifer, it is your turn to answer the same question, please.
So yeah, I've been knocking on doors 4 hours a day, every day. And as a journalist, it's interesting because it's exactly what I know how to do, is find out what people's concerns are. So beyond education, which we just talked about, it really is conservation, which I've also discussed, and infrastructure and healthcare. So the infrastructure issue is a lot, again, around this flooding that's affecting people's homes, and a lot around roads and bridges. In my part of the district, I have a bridge that's been out for quite a while that's affecting me, and I lost another tire last week on a pothole. So we need to worry about our roads and bridges and make sure those are fixed. Healthcare is a big issue. Whitmore Lake does not have a health clinic. They're trying to get one right now. I think they have bids out, but they got slowed down with the pandemic, and they're trying to do something about that. And also the entire district has a huge opioid problem. I hate to say, a lot of it is actually based in Ann Arbor, more surprisingly. So we really need to have more clinics to help address that horrible, epidemic that we have around opioid and fentanyl. But what I would work on, probably, we have a $7 billion surplus in our state budget right now. And I know the governor already is doing quite a bit around infrastructure, but I would say we need to do more. We also have really aging lead pipes, and we know what happened in Flint. So we need to fix our water management system. Thank you.
Okay, thanks to both of you for your answers. And we are going to go on to question 5. And Jennifer, you will be answering first. So question 5 is, according to the Detroit News, the state of Michigan has a $6 million budget surplus in the current fiscal year. And what should be done with the budget surplus?
So it's actually 7 billion if you add in like some other funds. There's a rainy day fund, and there's also a the pandemic funds that have come in through the American Rescue Act. So that brings it up another billion. So what I think we should do with that is, one, I believe in cutting the retirement tax, because that puts another $1,000 a year into our retirees' pockets. I also believe in raising the earned income tax credit from 6% to 20%, which puts $3,000 a year into working class families who are earning under, I think, 120,000. I also believe in the $500 rebate that the governor would like to give to help people in, again, low income working class families deal with the inflation that's going on right now. And yeah, well, there's a lot we could do with it. Again, we can put some of that in infrastructure, but I think getting some of those tax cuts through right now would be incredibly helpful, because we are coming out of this pandemic, and a lot of small businesses could use grants as well, just to help them hire, because I'm hoping more people are going to be entering the labor market again as we hopefully get through the pandemic, hopefully the last gasp of it. So we could have grants for small businesses to help them hire and help them expand their businesses and, emerge from what has been a very difficult time for small businesses with the pandemic.
Okay, thank you. And Eric, it is now your turn to please answer the same question.
Well, I'd like to see it go towards something like a Michigan Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is it's an emergency measure that mobilizes the state to halt climate change. It's the greatest threat to humanity in our history. It would create real incentives for electric vehicles, not these phony, deceive people they're going to get a rebate on a used car or something. It would also develop electrified mass transit type infrastructure and allow us to all dream big and achieve bigger things. I think the Green Party deal is the future of this country, and I will continue to advocate it, even if they don't win this contest. I'm not going to shove it down anyone's throat. The day for the environmental protests are over. Real environmental global meltdown is here and now, and all the crazy political chaos and mass panic that goes on with it. And the Green Party and the Green New Deal is your only real hope.
Okay, thank you. And Eric, you're going to be the first person to answer our last question, which is question number 6. How will you protect reproductive rights in the state of Michigan?
You ask this question. I'm personally pro-choice, always have been, but it's not enough just to be against a Supreme Court decision. First, you're going to have to vote for Proposal 3 and make it a right of abortion constitutional right in Michigan on November 8th. You have to be organized at the grassroots to protect women's rights, and they might go after contraceptive rights next. So the Green Party is a grassroots feminine organization, always has been. Feminism is one of its 10 key values. Look it up. The party's campaign for women reproductive freedom, led by feminists like Medea Benjamin, a former Green Party U.S. Senate candidate and co-founder of Code Pink. What you should be asking yourself is, How did we get here? Who in the Democratic Party is leading the feminism? Joe Biden? Joe Biden has consistently voted against women's inclusion of rape and incest in the Hyde Amendment. As U.S. Senator, he voted against federal funding abortions 50 times. And he said, I do not view abortions choice as a woman's right. And under Obama, he had a chance to codify it, and he did.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And Jennifer, now we would like to hear from you on answer to the same question, please.
Yes, I fully support the reproductive freedom for all ballot initiative, and I'm so excited that it will be something taken to the voters on November 8th. I believe thoroughly in a woman's bodily autonomy, a person's bodily autonomy. And as an example, even though I was raised Catholic, I'm very pro-choice, partially because one of my parents' best friends was a doctor, very Catholic doctor, who worked as a cardiologist at St. Joe's, went to mass every morning before he did his rounds, and he was always pro-choice because he told me the story about wondering why the cadavers they worked on in medical school in the 1950s were almost all young women. And he asked his professor, who told him these were botched abortions. And that is what pre-Roe looks like. And we know that if this proposal 3 does not go through, we will see women of low-income women disproportionately affected by this. If I'm elected and if we get a majority in the Democratic State House, we will codify abortion for sure that way, but we have to get it done on this ballot initiative. So please, I hope everyone will vote for proposal 3. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you to both of you. It is now time for the closing statements, and we will begin with Eric Beauregard.
Election reform is the #1 issue. So if I could have one election reform, it would be this. It's called ranked choice voting. Election reform has always been my #1 issue. It's because the Democratic and Republican parties, or the duopoly we like to call it, are never going to reform our system. It has worked way too well for them. It has paid off way too handsomely for them. That's just the way it is. If you really want to reform the system, the only thing you can do, and I can't emphasize it enough, is vote for the Green Party. The way election reform can be done quickly, fairly, and democratically, and with just one change: ranked choice voting.
Okay, thank you. And now it's time for Jennifer Conlon to have your closing statements, please.
So thank you. I just returned, right? That's why I was a little late, maybe from door knocking. And this district is so beautiful. It has so many lakes and parks and farms. It's just a delight to watch the colors change on the trees while I go knock. And I have probably knocked at this point over 3,000 doors, and I'm getting a real sense of the community, that parts I didn't know as well before. And I can clearly say, even though it might be a district that's 50% Republicans and 50% Democrats, I am so excited to represent everybody. And I obviously came into the race because I care so much about safeguarding voting rights, LGBTQ rights, and reproductive rights. But I also now know everything that's needed in this district and what constituents in this district need to make their lives better. From tax cuts to grants to help with our farms, from infrastructure. Our farmers don't have broadband, so how do you apply for grants when you can't get on the internet? I do lose my cell coverage a lot when I'm out in some of these areas, so I feel their pain. And I want to support everybody and help with the contamination in the lakes, and help get the roads better, and help with the healthcare needs of all these great citizens of District 48 and in the state of Michigan in general. So thanks so much today to all of you for this opportunity to get to talk to everyone, because it's hard to reach out to everybody in Livingston and Washtenaw counties, and this makes it a bit easier.
Okay, well, thanks to both of you so much. And now we're going to have some closing remarks from Catherine. Take it away, Catherine.
The League thanks the candidates for participating, and we also thank the League volunteers who assisted in developing this forum. All of our forums will be available for streaming on the League of Women Voters of Livingston County's Facebook page, website, and YouTube channel. In addition, the video will be available on the YouTube channel of the League of Women Voters Washtenaw County chapter. The League of Women Voters reserves the right to publicize the forum and may, at their option, invite the media or some other entity not associated with any of the candidates or campaigns to provide televised, radio, or other coverage of the forum. Copyright ownership of the tapes or transcripts resides with the League of Women Voters. The candidates and their supporters will not use the forum, portions of the forum, or any audio clips, video clips, or transcripts for political advertising or other purposes without written permission from the League of Women Voters. You can also review these candidate forums when you go to the League's online voter guide, vote411.org. With the passing of Proposal 3 in 2018, all voters are eligible to cast absentee ballots. And Michigan law now provides same-day voter registration by going to your local clerk's office. Just remember, no matter how you do it, be sure to vote in the November 8th general election. Have a good day, everyone.